been happening for quite a while. Another suicide case has been recorded in the Eastern region where a JHS student also died in a similar manner last week. A middle-aged woman whose name was only given as Letitia is said to have committed the act on the compound of the MHA Amanfrom Clinic in the Eastern region. Meanwhile, in Accra, a man believed to be in his early 30s is suspected to have also committed suicide at the Asherman Irrigation Development Site. This is a growing tendency of suicide in this country among students, and indeed the Mental Health Authority is calling on Parliament to decriminalize attempted suicide if the fight against suicide is to be won. I've been joined in studio by Dr. Yao Mfojo. He's a Chief Executive Officer and Consultant Psychiatrist with the Brain Clinic. I thank you very much. Good evening to you. It's great to have you now. I'm sure you must be worried, as many Ghanaians, the spate of suicide now. The fact that the ages of the persons who are allegedly committing suicides is reducing. Last year, we recorded 9-year-old, 11-year-old, 16 years old last week, 21, 23. How does this get to you? And what has accounted for this amongst the youth?
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers. Unfortunately, it's actually not only the youth, so let's not delude ourselves. Unfortunately, this is a trend that has been going on for some time. It's just become a lot more in terms of the frequency, and of course the media picking it up as well. What is also painful is the fact that increasingly more females are opting for, one would even say, violent means of taking their lives, because usually females would commonly adopt much softer methods. That's not to say they are not attempting to kill themselves, but to the extent that females are now hanging themselves or females are now jumping, that is actually sad. That is actually very sad. So again, this has been going on for some time, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And for me, the concern is that if we are reporting 9-year-olds, children, 11-year-olds, 21-year-olds, what could have accounted for, this development of children, having to have the thought of suicide? Because a 9-year-old classified to be a child, not even a youth.
I think, unfortunately, again, we do very little research in Ghana, so one cannot start to give the reasons why with respect to Ghana's situation. But however, just from information from elsewhere, there's a phenomenon we call copycat syndrome in suicides, where it starts whether somebody who's then contemplating is actually seeing it happen, then they actually go ahead and try and do it. So again, just a caution to some of the pictures and some of the graphic things that are being shown, especially on social media, etc., that it's actually not helpful at all. Because once it starts, it's almost like a copycat thing where people then just move on.
But unfortunately, I'm going to have to just chronicle, the suicide cases we've had, just to give us an idea of, why this is much of a concern. So, in the first quarter of this particular year alone, we've had, a 21-year-old Kwame University of Science and Technology student reported to have allegedly committed suicide. We have also a 23-year-old University of Ghana Legon student also said to have allegedly committed suicide. All these, the police is investigating these things, and so there's that cautious conclusion that we want to come to get to the point where it is actually declared as a suicide case. And so these are what's coming through. And then if you recall, sometime last year as well, there was the reported case of a 9-year-old who committed suicide, allegedly, and also an 11-year-old who says to have committed suicide. Many people have blamed the increasing cases of suicide on many factors, including the state, the Ghana Education Service, and then also you talk about the society as well, where we now begin to a lot more ostracize and as to where put through these suicide victims through some kind of trauma and stigmatization. How would you say these three levels, the state, the society, the breakdown of the traditional support system, and the education system has contributed to this?
Again, can I correct you there? We've not done the research. So the questions that you're asking us in terms of how would I, it's almost like we've done the information. People are saying all kinds of things. We've not even talked about the influence of, for example, false religious beliefs, etc.
Right.
So let's not. We have a crisis on our hands. The first thing to do is to actually provide the alternative with respect to how to rescue people. Suicide is a medical emergency. It is a crisis that we have on our hands. So let's get to how to actually save people, to provide the options with respect to when someone is at that point, how do we save them? Hospitals, training of nursing staff, training of people to identify the signs and the symptoms, and importantly, to prevent or to stop the person from actually going ahead. As to whether it's the state, the educational system, etc., those are deep-seated issues or whatever, plus our poor mental health service structures.
That is think that we haven't paid attention to
at all. It's not that I think. You know that and I know that. So let's stop beating around the bush. What's this thing that we think? Look at the facilities that we have. Look at the service. And unfortunately, what is happening is a direct and indirect reflection of our poor mental health services. So let's stop beating around the bush and stop this blame game.
So the act was passed in 2012, and then we still not provided the funding to ensure
even whether
the effective implementation of this particular law.
Issues have been going on way before even this act thing became an issue. It's been going on. I mean, excuse me, a few months ago, the nurses at the psych hospital were on strike for whatever.
Yes.
And it went on for some time. What was it?
They lacked the
300,000 Ghana cedis to provide them with gloves, etc. Come off it. Let's stop beating around the bush. I mean, we have a crisis on our hands. This is similar in public health terms to what would have happened in a situation of Ebola and cholera. This people
you think it's gotten to that level?
But of course, this is an epidemic. Come off it. People are killing themselves every single day. And this is what is reported in the media. How much more what is not reported?
Quite frankly, I mean, Dr. Kosiose has put a certain figure to it that somewhere in 2015 we had about 1,500 cases of reported suicide cases and about 6,000 unreported, plus or minus.
Crazy, but
may or may not be the case.
That is a public health, and to describe what we call an epidemic, if there was nothing or 2 or 3, 20 years ago, and suddenly now you have 1,500, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, and that is completely irresponsible. And considering the fact that a lot of this is also happening in the younger, and it is a preventable death. It is completely unacceptable. So we really do have a crisis on our hands, and we have to stop this thing about pointing fingers and talking around theoretical. No, we have a crisis on our hands, and it is very obvious for us in the field where the crisis is coming from.
Where is it coming from?
It is coming from our poor resources that we allocate to mental health, mental health training, identification, etc. When we say mental health, it is a very integral part of healthcare anyway. So, for example, every single emergency room where you would otherwise send the patient with hypertension who has a stroke should also have a place where people who complain about symptoms related to depression and suicide are also put on what we call a suicide watch. There are very clear ways in which we identify and manage suicide. Right. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. These things have been done successfully in many places.
Let me ask you this. How does the continuous reportage of such cases in the media contribute to this? Because there's this assertion that the continuous broadcast of such is influencing these cases of suicide in the media.
One can say that again with the media, you are trained in whatever, whether it is financial media reporting, whether it is healthcare media reporting, you are trained to report how to report sensitive information.
Right.
Now this wrong approach of putting pictures of somebody hanging or showing children standing, it's completely unhealthy. That is unethical. And so the media, and again, let's be honest, in the media you have training as to how we do certain things. And so if certain media organizations are doing, or certain media people are doing the wrong thing, it is for us to point that out. Unfortunately, also social media, in the way that is being propagated, is creating some kind of issue as well. But this suicide epidemic is very worrying, and unfortunately, it might actually get worse if we do not.
It might get worse.
Exactly, unfortunately.
Dr. Yao Mfojo, we're hoping that it doesn't, but we need to get serious with this, which you know, I agree with you. And that's why we're not even showing these images. And we have decided to ensure to be sensitive and be responsible to the emotions of the people and their families and indeed the general public involved in all of this. But I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Grateful.